Good morning. Welcome to church today. Today is graduation Sunday. Our graduates are waiting to come and march in, and we'll have an interview with them. It'll be a lot of fun. They're excited. I'm not sure how excited they are, but they're excited. Anyway, we just want to remind you of a couple of things. When you come into the sanctuary, make sure you come in and sit with your family and stay with your family, just for precaution. If someone wants to shake your hand and you don't want to shake your hand, don't. Okay? Yeah, what does that do? But anyway, we don't want you to respect one another. Also, there's hand sanitizers at each door, so make sure if you need a hand sanitizer, you also have a hand sanitizer in the foyer. Masks are optional. That's not your mask. Anyway, masks are optional. If you would like to wear those, feel free to do that. And ushers, after the end of the service, ushers will be dismissing you.
From the front, like a wedding. If you dismiss from the back, it's a funeral. We don't want to do that. They're going to come up front, and they will dismiss you. The idea being that our foyer's small. As far as I know, it's not raining right now. I'd like you to do the fellowshipping outside the building, okay? Outside the building, if you would, please.
And you don't need to stop in the foyer?
Well, yeah,
Okay, and then leave your tithe and offering before you leave.
Well, yeah, sure.
Right, okay.
Do that.
All right. We just wanted to go over those guidelines just a little bit with you.
Okay.
And just a couple of things that I wanted to tell you. And I hope my list is still here. Yep. I just wanted to give a shout out to some people that are doing some things behind the scenes. We just wanted to let you know who they are and to thank them publicly. The teens and their faithful leaders, the Vioritas, came in before our services started in the sanctuary, and they took out all the hymnals and Bibles in the pews. Anyway, we needed to have those removed.
We didn't burn them, so we didn't go that far.
They're waiting to be put back in, but I just wanted to thank them for doing that, for taking the time. Also, Carrie Brammer is our creative gift giver. She's the one that picks out the Mother's Day and Father's Day gifts. She's our Sunday school chairperson. Just wanted to thank her for doing that for us. And Steve Nicely is the one that hung all the hand sanitizers in the building. I want to thank him. Sherry Womax this last week cleaned the kitchen from top to bottom and also the shelter house.
But she just turned 60, so I don't know if she's going to ever be able to do it again.
Yeah, 60 pretty young. So, Joanne Marshall, she cleaned our front windows inside and out. It's like a new, it's things that we didn't even see because they're so clear, right?
Walk right into it.
That's right. Todd Dance, Ron Peabody, and Don Chisholm mows our grass every week, and we just wanted to thank them for the work that they do.
I think we ought to give them all.
Remind you that Wednesday night at 6 o'clock is our Wednesday devotional. You can check that out online. This next week, Dr. Bob Crabtree will be our speaker for that. And the district is still having camp meeting. It's called The Gathering, July 26th through August 1st. And there's information on the bulletin board. And also Children's Camp will still happen. You need to register before July 13th. And they're doing a lot of precautionary things to make sure that's safe. But if you have any questions, talk to Pastor Missy. The new birthday and anniversary list is on the bulletin board if you're interested in that. The office will be closed this Friday due to July 4th. So if you need to come to the office, make sure you call ahead so you know for sure that we're here. It is great to have you in church today.
Doesn't she do a great job?
His mercy is more. Let's worship the Lord. Praise the Lord. His mercy is more. Stronger than darkness, new every morn. Our sins, they are many. His mercy is Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy We have our children's time with Pastor Missy today.
Yeah, Cole, you still want to help me? Come on up here. All right. How are you, buddy? I think you've gotten taller. That's what happens. We don't see each other for a while. Can you hold this for me? Just stand there, look handsome, and hold that for me. All right. So you doing well? Yeah. Having a good summer so far? Yeah, that's good. Well, we are going to talk a little bit today about something that we talk a lot about in my house. And Pastor is going to talk about a passage where Paul says, I have learned to be content in all circumstances. I have learned to be content in need and when I have plenty. Now, we know that when we use the word content, that means that we are happy, there is joy. And what Paul is trying to say in this verse is that we can have joy in God at all times, no matter whether we have a lot of stuff or whether we have needs, because God is our strength. That's That's right? Because we know that there are times when we're going to have a lot of things, but we also know that there are going to be times in our lives where we're going to have needs. Now, when we have plenty of things, it's kind of easy to praise God, right? When you've got lots of things and when God is really blessing us. I know you guys were blessed with a cute dog. He's so cute. Is he doing good? Yeah, he's got a lot of energy though, right? Yeah. But that's a huge blessing. Like, we have a lot in our lives that really we have more than what we need because God has just really blessed us. But we also know that there are times when we are in need. And I don't know about in your house, but in my house, sometimes we get confused with what it means to need things versus want things, right? Yeah? So when we need things, it's actual things that are necessary. So, like, can you think of something that we need every day? What are some things that we actually have to have? Okay, we need food and water, and like we live in Ohio, right? So during the winter, like you would need a winter coat. It would be wise to do that, right? So sometimes there are things in our life that we need. Now, this is not something I necessarily need, but I like to have it, right? Because what kid doesn't like chocolate, right? So I might not necessarily need all of these, but it's nice to have them once in a while. And obviously, do I have more in there than I could eat? Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, I might be able to eat them, but it probably wouldn't be a good idea. So we're not going to do that. But we know that God's Word tells us whether we have a lot of something or whether we have needs in our lives, we know that we can still have joy in Jesus because He is our strength. And He is the one that helps us, whether we have a lot of something, whether we're in need, no matter where we're at in life, it is Jesus who is our joy, and it is He who is our strength. With that being said, since I have so many Hershey Kisses, I've decided, here, I'll let you take that, and I'm going to take this. You can take that back to your seat. You can have what's in there. You can have to share though, okay? Can you share? Because there's plenty in there. You don't need all of them. And then maybe we can share these with the other kids on the way out of service. Okay? All right. Thanks, Cole.
As we go to prayer this morning, we want to invite Kelsey McCowan to come and bring her family, and I'd like for you to come right here to this part of the altar. And then Kelsey, you want to tell the crowd why we're praying for you today?
In about 3 hours, I leave for the United States Navy. I will be shipping out tomorrow for my basic training, and I will be studying to work on submarines.
Okay. Shipping out, is that literal or figurative, or am I just
I
being
fly out
back
for now.
done? Oh,
Fly
you're
out for
flying out. Okay. Just
I'll ship
curious.
out later.
There will be a ship somewhere along the line if
Yes.
you go into the Navy, okay. And then I'd like to invite John and Mary Ellen, if you would come forward. If Kelsey and your family would come at this end of the altar, and John and Mary Ellen at that end of the altar, we're going to have special prayer for John this morning. Let's look to the Lord in prayer, and let's begin with the Lord's Prayer, if we shall, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Watched her in these recent years, and Lord, how you've made progress in her life as you have in many people's lives. And we just ask that you bless Kelsey today and bless her family. And Lord, these are, I'm sure, bittersweet moments, and I pray that you'd watch over them as well. We thank you, Lord, for Kelsey, and we just ask that you would watch over her, and that this would be a career choice that would make a difference for her, and that she would just feel like she found her niche in life. We thank you, Lord, for watching over, and we thank you, Lord, for directing. Your word tells us that when we trust the Lord with all of our hearts and lean not on our own understanding, but acknowledge you, you will direct our paths. So, Lord, we claim that promise for Kelsey today. Please direct her path. Give her peace, we pray in Jesus' name. We anoint John in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because, Lord, you are the healer, you are the helper, you are the one who is in great physician. And John is asking for your strength today. It's interesting, we're looking at a passage of Scripture today where it says that in Christ I have my strength. I can do all things through him who gives me the strength. Lord, we pray that for John today. You know what's needed. You know what doctors they need to find out. We know, Lord, that you ultimately have the answers, though. Our trust and our faith are in you, Jesus. Not only our Savior, but our healer. And also for John, Lord, his faith is strong. Mary Ellen's faith is strong. His family's faith is strong. We ask your blessing upon them as they lean on you today. We are learning to lean on Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce to you those of the 2020 graduating class that are a part of this church. Let's welcome them this morning.
Wonderful. We just wanted to give them an opportunity to be able to walk down the aisle in their cap and gown because they didn't get that privilege. But anyway, our first graduate is Ellie Garrett. Ellie, where did you graduate from?
Tecumseh High School.
Tecumseh High School. You want to stand up? And he's clapping because that's where he graduated. Tecumseh High School. Tell us about maybe what your favorite subject or extracurricular activities that you really enjoyed during your high school years.
My favorite extracurricular activity was FFA.
FFA. Tell us a little bit. Didn't your project run away?
Yeah, my steer ran away for 59 days. I came back on his own.
Okay, his steer ran away, but that was kind of a fun story. But anyway, so you enjoyed being in FFA. Do you have a favorite subject of school?
Math.
Math. Okay. And tell us any special awards. I noticed you got awards around your. Yeah.
I have one award for being a 4-year member of FFA, and then the other one for getting my state degree in FFA.
Very, very good. All right. Tell us what your future plans are.
I'm going to be attending Wilmington College and dual major in early childhood education and special education.
All right. Very good. Let's give. Before you leave, let's have her family stand up so we can see who's responsible for this. Okay, next we have Caitlin Hatt. Come on down. 3 lady high school graduates. Caitlin, it's good to have you here today. Tell us what school you graduated from.
Northeastern High School.
Okay, yeah, we need to do that. Northeastern High School, all right. Favorite subject while you were there?
Science.
Science, okay. And that's probably good for what you want to go into. But extracurricular, you wrote down, you were on a soccer team, the track team, National Honor Society, student government, plus many other clubs. Did you have time to go to class? Okay. All right. Was there a favorite thing, extracurricular activity that you enjoyed?
Soccer.
Soccer, okay, very good. And special awards, you were the valedictorian. Very good. Congratulations on that. Future plans, tell us what you want to do.
I'm going to Ohio Northern University to major in pharmacy.
All right, to major in pharmacy. She's following in her mom's footsteps. Her mom is also a pharmacist, so very good. Congratulations. We'll be praying for you throughout your years in college. We'd like for her family to stand. Anybody related to Kayla, please stand. Very good. Okay, Robin Judy. Robin, you graduated from Ohio Virtual Academy and Clark State Community College at the same time.
Yep.
That's quite an accomplishment. Yes, her degree was an Associate of Science. Did you have a favorite subject during your high school years?
I like science.
Like science, okay, and that is also good, just like Caitlin, because you're going into something that will need that knowledge. Extracurricular activities, what did you?
I was a student ambassador at Clark State. That was probably my favorite thing that I did there.
Okay, and student senate, and also you tutored other students, very good, all right. And special awards?
I was student ambassador.
I know, okay, look, okay, same thing, but look at all the medals and stuff around her neck, so National Honor Society and the tutoring, okay, and what are your plans?
I'm going to go to Cedarville University for nursing.
All right, very good, let's give her a hand. Anybody that is related to Ms. Robin, please stand. Okay, those are our high school graduates, and I would like for Jeff and Carol Fiorita to stand. Would you, Jeff, come on in, Carol? I know you got your degree other times, but anyway, these are the team leaders that these girls had. They took them to NYC. They've been a big part of our youth group, and we just wanted to thank you for Mitchell. Mitchell Garrett. He is Ellen's older brother. You like to
And
be-
much cooler.
And much cooler. Thanks, Mitchell. All right. Mitchell graduated with a Bachelor of Science from the Ohio State University.
Yes.
Right. I should have worn my Michigan mess, but anyway. Tell us what you majored in.
So I majored in agri-science education with a dual minor in production agriculture and ag systems management.
Oh, what does that mean?
I don't know.
All right, tell us a highlight during those 4 years of graduating.
I think my favorite thing was some of my classes to get my production or ag systems management minor. We went to the farm that Ohio State runs, and we got to drive tractors and different things like that. So there's a lot better than sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, I'm sure. Special awards, extracurricular activities you want to tell us about?
I was on the Ag Ed Society member, and we, helped run local FFA chapters and different events like that.
Very good. And what are your future plans? That wasn't the next question. The next question is advice. What advice, and do it in like a paragraph, would you give to high school seniors that have just graduated as they are approaching their college years?
My main advice would be, have fun with, or make new friends and have fun with them, but, make sure you put forth an effort to actually study and go to class. A lot of times with classes, you can pass them by showing up to class and paying attention, and you won't have to do a ton of studying outside of the class.
Right. Very good. And so tell us what your future plans are.
So I am going to be the new ag teacher at St. Henry High School in St. Henry, Ohio.
Very good. So you'll be teaching 8th through 12th grade.
Yes.
So very good. They stood before and said, congratulations. Our next graduate is Randy James. Randy got his Master of Divinity from the Union University of California. And Randy, can you tell us a highlight of the years when you studied for this particular degree?
This was the first degree that I had was totally online.
Okay.
And so to be able to be in class with people for from India, from Africa, from the Philippines, from different parts of the United States. It's a whole new experience that I never got to meet a teacher face to face. I never got to meet a student face to face other than the pictures online. It's an interesting experience.
Do you still think that was a good quality? I mean, did you?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot. I think that we helped each other learn along the way. It's something we're going to all get used to more in the future, I think. And it was kind of interesting to do that.
Very good. Advice to high school seniors or those getting that just got their college education?
I think the advice I would give is not to think that you're done when you're done. Because I guess I'm kind of a slow learner. It took me 5 years to get through college. It took me 4 years to get my first master's. It took me 8 years to get my doctorate. It took me 5 more years to get this one. But I've been in school most of my ministry, and I was always working full time through all of that. And I've just come to realize that if you can be a lifelong learner, it's the best way to go.
I agree. Very good. And future plans. You said on your form that only God knows your future plans.
Well, my immediate future plans, I leave Tuesday for Arizona for more training with new church specialties.
Very good. All right. Very good. Family members related to Randy James, please stand. Pastor James, or Pastor Rick's dad. Congratulations. Last but not least, at least in our family, is Ashley Sarver. Ashley, you graduated from the University of North Carolina in Greensboro with a Master of Arts in Directing. That's a long title. Tell us highlights of your 2 years in North Carolina.
Well, the first thing I would say is I have never experienced God's faithfulness in my life more than in these past 2 years. He knew exactly what I needed, and that was to drop me in the mountains of North Carolina. And so I felt God's faithfulness and His love, and that was probably the biggest thing that I look back on those years that I'm really grateful for. Also, I got to be the assistant on a new musical in New York City. That was cool. And yeah, it was a good time.
All right. Any special awards or extracurricular activities?
I received a grant to write 2 plays about women aviators, and many of you either saw that or were in it. Thank you. And that was an honor to do. I graduated with 4.0. I'm in the Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society. I received the Beamer Award of UNCG, the Graduate Assistant of the Year, and the Faculty UNCG Award.
And you took this all after your mother? Yes. Okay, no more. All right. Advice.
We know better.
Advice in one paragraph. Okay, one paragraph to high school seniors that are getting ready to go to college.
I want to say delete all of your social media, but I know that you're not going to. So I would highly recommend to actually every human to limit your social media usage until Facebook and Google gets it right. I have deleted my social media, and it has made my life more focused, and it's just a great decision. So I would just consider limiting your social media and practicing discipline with it.
Okay, that sounded like a sermon, didn't it? No, thanks for the advice. And then tell us what your future plans are.
I am going to be the professor of communication and theater at Olivet Nazarene University.
Very good. Congratulations.
And will my family please stand?
Okay, as soon as Ashley gets down here, we're going to have our graduating class walk back down the aisle so this side can see them as they come down. Congratulations to all of them.
So what did you want to be when you grow up? Don, what did you want to be when you were a kid? What did you say?
I wanted to be a pilot,
You wanted to be a pilot?
but my eyes
Mm-hmm.
eliminated that.
Okay, all right.
I've always been interested in
Yeah,
airplanes.
cool. Cool. Norma, what did you want to be? What did you tell them when they asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up, little Norma? Well, I'm saying you're still little. Right? Yeah, okay. How many of you fulfilled what you thought you wanted to be when you were younger, when you grew up? All right, what did you do? How many of you completely away from what it was that you originally thought you wanted to be when you grew up? Yeah. Now, I don't want to scare the people getting ready to go into college, but how many of you went to college but you're not doing something that had anything to do with what you went to college for? Yeah, okay. That happens too, but it's okay. You still get some benefit from it. It works out. Well, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball pitcher and an astronaut. And it turns out I'm pretty close. I'm pointing people to heaven by pitching the gospel. I didn't get that from the driving group. That's all right. I wonder what the Apostle Paul wanted to be when he grew up. We really actually have a few hints in Philippians chapter 3 where he tells us that he was a big-time, big-shot religious leader. He was what they call a Pharisee. Paul was probably among the richest and most popular people in his day. He was a keeper of the law, he said. In fact, he went so far as to say that he was faultless. I don't know how many of you can say that. One little sideline for Paul was that he liked to hurt Christians until something happened to him that quite changed his life. He met Jesus, and everything changed. Listen to how it changed as he describes it in Philippians 3, verse 7. But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. Whatever I owned, whatever popularity, whatever respect I had from others, that's my translation, was nothing compared to knowing Jesus. Meeting Jesus turned his world upside down. A whole new perspective. You know, when you meet Christ, when he really gets a hold of your heart, when he gives you a new glimpse of what life can be with his agenda in mind, looking through his eyes and he looking through your eyes, you get a whole new perspective on life. You may no longer care about getting all you can and canning all you get. You may not be all about climbing the ladder. You know, there might be somebody with a larger family who needs that promotion more than you do. You no longer think you have to have the biggest and the best. You actually have enough. I want you to say that word with me, enough. Can you do that? 1, 2, 3. Enough. We don't say that very often. You no longer think you have to be in the popular crowd because your self-esteem is given to you by the God who loves you, not by the crowd. You find yourself looking for ways to share and to care because that's what Jesus does. It's a whole new perspective. Paul put it this way in Philippians 4, verses 11 through 13. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do this through Christ who gives me the strength. So as a Christ follower, Paul didn't have to have the biggest and the best any longer, though he had been used to it when he was a Pharisee. He probably was very rich at one time. You know, it's not wrong to have the latest iPhone or the latest Android if that's your choice. But if you buy them for happiness, if you buy them for contentment, it won't last long and you'll continue to look for the next big thing. As a Christ follower, prestige and popularity no longer drove Paul's purpose in living. It's not wrong to be on social media, I think. But as Pastor Missy said in her Wednesday devotional this past week, it can affect you negatively. How many of you, if you be honest, would admit it can affect you negatively? It can really be a downer. You've got to be careful. And may I add this. If you are measuring your worth and your popularity by the number of likes, it is not going to be satisfying ultimately. You may even compromise your own ethics or Christ's commands so that you can obtain more attention. The amazing thing about this passage, though, every time I read it, this is the part that always gets me. Paul says that he has learned the secret of contentedness, even when he had plenty. Think about that. You have to learn to be content when you have plenty. That sort of throws you. Let's look at it again. He says, I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Sometimes we fall for the scam that we don't have enough. There's this driving discontent. Most of us have heard about Rockefeller and the fact that he was one of the greatest billionaires of all time. And the reporter came up to him and asked him how much is enough, and he said, just a little bit more. And the truth is, if we'd be honest, in our own way, in our own proportion to Rockefeller, we've all been there thinking we had to have just a little bit more. But Paul says, I have a secret. How many of you like to have secrets? How many of you know secrets? Paul said, I have a secret. He said, I've learned the secret of contentedness. I can do all things. This is the secret. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. What was he saying? He was saying Jesus is his source. Jesus is his resource. Jesus has promised to take care of me and to be with me through thick and thin. So what do you want to be when you grow up? I have the answer for you, Christian. This is what you ought to be able to say. I want to be content with wherever and whatever Christ leads me into. Whether it's on the field, on the court, in the shop, in an office, in a classroom, driving a truck, driving a police car, driving a fire truck, cleaning a building, on a construction site, behind a pulpit, in front of a computer, taking care of my home and family, and you fill in the blank. The bottom line is, I want to be content wherever Christ leads me and whatever Christ provides for me, because he is my source and my resource. And if you aren't a Christian today, this would be a good time to consider that option and get a new contented perspective on life. Let's pray. We thank you, Lord, for your word. It challenges us. It reminds us in our day, in our place, in our culture, in our Western world of plenty. Most of us in this room have plenty. Lord, help us to learn the secret of contentedness, that Christ is our source and our resource, no matter what our circumstances. Whether the days are lean or the days are plenty, Lord, help us to realize that when we have Christ, we have everything we need. For those who may not know Jesus today, or those who feel like they're a little bit estranged from Jesus today, I pray, Lord, that they would find themselves removing the barriers and drawing close to you. Your word tells us that when we draw close to you, you will draw close to us. Make it so, I pray. May we find ourselves truly content. May we find ourselves truly satisfied because of what Jesus has done in and through us. And Lord, thank you that you're not through with any of us yet. Thank you for these graduates. Thank you for their accomplishments. And Lord, as they find their niche in life and in society, I pray that you would help them to find contentedness and satisfaction like never before, because Jesus is the one who led them all the way. It's in his name we pray. And all God's people said, amen. Amen. We're going to sing our final song, and then the ushers will be in to escort you from your seats. God bless you.
Let's stand together and bless my Lord this morning. We'll be singing from Psalm 103. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you